Our top focus at this hour, Britain has raised its national threat level to severe. This comes after the taxi explosion in Liverpool was called a terror incident. A severe threat level means that an attack is seen as highly likely. Prime Minister Boris Johnson chaired an emergency Cobra meeting saying that Britain will not be cowed by terrorism. On Sunday, a homemade bomb destroyed a taxi outside a hospital. This incident in Liverpool ended up killing a passenger.
Independent Joint Terrorism Analysis Centre, JTAC, are today raising the UK's threat level from substantial to severe, meaning an attack is highly likely. But what yesterday showed, above all, is that the British people will never be cowed by terrorism. We will never give in to those who seek to divide us with senseless acts of.
The explosion came just minutes before a Remembrance Sunday service at a nearby Liverpool cathedral. This has prompted speculation that the event was intended. The taxi driver had escaped and was being treated for his injuries. The British police have said that the passenger is believed to have made the explosive device. They further added that they believe they knew the identity of the passenger.
Following discussions with Army Ordnance Disposal, we are able to confirm that this is being treated as the ignition of an explosive device. Our inquiries also indicate that the device was brought into the cab by the passenger. We believe we know the identity of the passenger, but we cannot confirm this at this time.
So far, 3 men were arrested on Sunday under the Terrorism Act in connection to the incident. Another man, aged 20, had been arrested on Monday. The investigation is underway, with both the security service and more bodies assisting in the case as well. For more on this story, we are now joined by our correspondent Benji Hire from London. Benji, thanks for joining us. Now, the blast in Liverpool had been declared a terror incident earlier, and now the terror threat has been raised to severe. What more can you tell us about this?
Well, what's important to recognise here is the whole context behind that decision that came from the Prime Minister, who you heard, and also Home Secretary Priti Patel. The reason she says that that level has been raised to severe is not just because of the incident that took place at the Liverpool hospital, the details of which we know so far are pretty much what you summed up, that a passenger, the suspect in this case, took a taxi to the hospital where he ignited that explosive bomb, but the driver, who was being deemed as a hero in this case, managed to escape and locked that suspect inside the taxi to prevent any further casualties. That happened, as I say, on Sunday. It comes just a few weeks after another terror incident, unrelated, not linked, according to police, to what happened on Sunday, but nonetheless part of the decision making. And that incident, if you recall, was the murder of MP Sir David Amess back in October. And it's those two incidents that have formed the basis for the decision to raise the terror threat in the UK, meaning, according to the government, a terror threat here is highly likely.
Right. Now, Benji, as you just pointed out, this follows another incident, though unrelated, and now the terror threat has been raised to severe. So what does this mean in terms of security in the area, and are authorities expecting more such attacks?
Well, it's difficult to say on the second point whether this means that there are definitely going to be more attacks. Obviously, security services are always trying to foil the next attack. But what this rise does show is that there needs to be a greater sense of urgency about the potential for an attack. And that, as I say, it is much more likely now than before. With all that said, the government is clear that the British people will not be cowed by terrorist acts. The people should continue life as normal, and of course that there'll be more police presence around. Investigations continue about this particular incident. Of course, the suspect, the passenger in this case, has died due to his explosive device, but they think that the police think that they do know the identity of this individual, who was not known to security services, but they claim was from Middle Eastern descent. And what they're trying to work out now is the motivation to that attack, to try to piece together different bits of information and work out why this took place, and then, in effect, how to prevent other attacks from taking place in the future.
Right, Benji, my final question for you. This adds to another list of troubles that the Johnson government is currently facing off late. Multiple crises before the government. How is the Johnson government responding to this attack, and what will be the strategy going forward to ensure the safety of the British people?
Well, it's important to kind of split everything up here because there are a number of crises going on inside Boris Johnson's government. Allegations of government sleaze, criticism of the lack of progress made at the COP26 climate summit in Glasgow, a range of other domestic affairs that have got the government quite busy. This incident obviously has taken a bit of government time and attention, but that's warranted. They had an emergency meeting just a few hours ago, and this will be dealt with kind of separately, I'd imagine, to all the goings-on of government and domestic affairs that had taken up a lot of their focus so far. On this particular incident, Boris Johnson gave that brief statement that we played before, talking about the resolve of the British public, and I think that the kind of spirit that people tend to have in the UK is to keep calm and carry on, and those certainly will be the sentiments held by a lot of people. Of course, at the same time, as I mentioned, investigations continue, the police presence will increase, and the Prime Minister and his team and emergency services and security services will keep a close eye to prevent anything like this from happening again. As for the headlines and other stories, they're likely to continue in the background. As I say, there's allegations of sleaze and fears about what they're going to do in terms of the climate, and those will take up a lot of the headlines going forward in the next few days. But the government's attention in the last few hours definitely on what's been happening in Liverpool, and then of course ensuring that this is an incident that does not repeat itself in the weeks and months to come.
Right, Benji Haya, thank you so much for joining us from London with all those updates.